The crowd inside the grand arena of Zoreth roared like thunder. Alien voices filled the sky, each one cheering for the upcoming battle. Flags of red and gold waved in the wind. The ground shook with excitement. This was not just a battle, it was a tradition, a show of power, and the pride of the Zoroth Empire. In the center of the arena, under the bright twin suns, stood a human. He looked out of place among the tall, armored Zoroth warriors. His name was Aren. He wore a simple gray jumpsuit, his wrists still bruised from the chains he had been wearing just yesterday. His short brown hair was messy, and there was a small cut above his eyebrow. But his eyes were steady, calm, and focused. Across from him stood the Zoreth King on a tall platform made of black stone. Beside him stood his daughter, Princess Selani. She was different from the others, though she had the same deep purple skin and sharp golden eyes. There was something softer in her gaze. She looked at Aren not with hate but with curiosity. Selani took a step forward, raising her hand. The entire arena fell silent. "People of Zoroth," she said, her voice loud and clear, "this human stands before us, a prisoner of war. But he is no ordinary man. He came alone, unarmed, on a mission of peace. We captured him, yes, but he showed no fear, even when surrounded. He asked for no mercy. He asked only to speak." Whispers moved through the crowd. Aren stood still. "Not showing emotion," Selani continued, "my father, the king, has denied his request for peace. But I see something in this human, a strength not of muscle, but of spirit. So I offer him a chance." She turned to Aren, and her golden eyes locked onto his. "Human," she said, "win this battle, ... and you win me." Gasps echoed through the arena. Zoreth warriors muttered in shock. Some shouted in anger. Others laughed, thinking she was joking. But she stood tall and proud. The king's face was hard and cold. He did not stop her. Aren blinked, surprised. Then he gave a small nod. The princess spoke again. "You will face our greatest warrior in 7 days. Prepare yourself. Win the fight, and your life will be yours. And if you do, I will be too." She turned and walked back to her place beside the king, leaving silence behind. Later, deep inside the stone walls of the arena, Aren was taken to a small training chamber. The room was dark and smelled like metal and dust. He sat on the floor, thinking. Why had the princess done this? Was it a trick, or was there something more? A heavy door opened. Princess Selani stepped inside, alone. "You should have refused," she said softly. "They think you'll die in the first minute." Aren stood slowly. "Maybe I will," he said, "but I've faced worse odds." She tilted her head. "What makes you fight human?" "Like you," he answered. Then he smiled. "A little, not just you, your people, your world. I came to stop a war, not start one. But if this is how I survive, then I'll fight." Selani looked at him with interest. "You're not strong like our warriors?" "No," he agreed, "but I'm smart. I know how to adapt, and I don't give up." She studied him. "Then you'll need help." "What are you offering?" he asked. "No," she said quickly. Then, after a pause, she added, "But I might send someone who can." With that, she left. Over the next 6 days. Aren trained with a quiet Zoreth outcast named Drak. Drak didn't speak much, but he taught Aren how to use energy staves, how to dodge, how to breathe during a fight. Aren learned fast. He used his human agility and memory to make up for what he lacked in strength. Each night, Aren dreamed of Earth through oceans, forests, and blue skies. He missed it, but he knew going back would only happen if he survived this fight. On the 7th day, the arena opened once more. Drums pounded, horns blew. The sky was red with the light of both suns. The crowd waited for blood. Aren stepped into the arena. His chest armor was light. He held a long energy staff in both hands. Across from him stood General Kraith, a mountain of muscle with silver armor and glowing red eyes. Kraith laughed when he saw Aren. "This is your champion?" Kraith shouted to the crowd. "This small human?" The crowd laughed with him. Aren stayed calm. His heart beat fast, but his hands were steady. Princess Selani stood once again at the edge of the king's platform. She watched, silent, unreadable. The horn blew. Kraith charged forward like a bull. Aren dodged. Kraith swung hard. Aren rolled. Then Aren struck once. Twice light blows. Testing. Kraith grew angry. His swings were fast but wild. Aren stayed. Light on his feet. Using what Drac had taught him, he didn't try to match strength. He used speed, timing, and clever movement. The crowd began to quiet. They started to watch. Selani leaned forward, her golden eyes wide. Aren wasn't winning, but he wasn't losing either, and that was more than anyone had expected. To be continued. Toad. Kraith's strikes were loud and powerful. Every swing of his energy blade sent sparks flying. The crowd roared louder with each hit, expecting the human to fall at any moment. But Aren kept moving. He dodged one strike, rolled under another, then used the edge of his staff to tap Kraith's leg, just enough to slow him. Kraith growled, "Stand still, human." Aren didn't answer. He knew better. Talking would waste energy, focused on his breathing, his steps, and the timing. Of every move, Kraith was strong, but he was angry now. That made him sloppy. Up on the stone platform, Princess Selani leaned forward, hands tight on the edge. No one expected this battle to last more than a few minutes. But the human had lasted nearly 10. Some in the crowd were starting to cheer for him. Others looked confused, even worried. The king's face was still calm, but his eyes were sharp. He whispered something to his guard. The guard nodded and walked away quickly. Aren kept circling. He could feel the bruises on his arms and legs. Kraith had landed a few glancing hits, and his muscles were starting to ache. But he had a plan. He had watched how the Zoreth fought during his days in training. Their strength was their pride, but they hated long fights. They rushed, burned energy fast, and expected quick wins. Aren spun his staff and struck Kraith's side. It was a light hit, but it made the general stumble. The crowd gasped. Aren stepped back, keeping distance. He didn't need to win with one blow. He just needed to last long enough for Kraith to tire himself out. Kraith roared and charged. Again, Aren ducked, then struck Kraith's leg. This time it worked. Kraith fell to one knee. Aren raised his staff, ready to finish it, but then Kraith pulled out a small hidden blade from his armor, one glowing with dark energy. The crowd shouted in confusion. The blade was illegal in arena combat. Stood up. "Stop the match," she shouted. But the horn didn't blow. No one moved. The king raised his hand. "Continue," he said. Selene turned to him. "He's using a hidden blade. That breaks the rules." "He is our champion," the king replied coldly. "The human must still prove himself." Aren heard every word. His heart sank. This wasn't just a test. It was a trap. Kraith smiled and slashed with the dark blade. Aren barely blocked it with his staff, but the energy burned through part of the handle. He jumped back, breathing hard. "You were doing well, human," Kraith said. "But now, I end this." Aren narrowed his eyes. He had to end this fast. He looked around the arena. Dust. Broken pieces of armor. Cracked stone. He remembered something Drac once said during training. When strength fails, use your surroundings. Even the ground can. Be your weapon. Aren kicked up dust as Kraith charged again. The dust hit Kraith's eyes. The warrior roared and swung wildly. Aren ducked, moved behind him, and grabbed a broken piece of stone from the ground. As Kraith turned, blinded, an angry Aren slammed the stone into his shoulder. The blade flew from Kraith's hand. Aren didn't stop. He dropped the stone, picked up the energy staff, now sparking in cracked hand, struck Kraith hard in the chest. Kraith fell. The arena went silent. The human stood over the fallen champion, breathing hard, blood on his face and arms, his body. Shaking, Selene stepped forward slowly, her golden eyes wide. The king stood as well, its expression unreadable. After a long moment, the horn blew. The match was over. The crowd exploded with noise. Some cheered, some shouted in anger. Others simply stood in shock. Never before had a human beaten a Zorth champion in the arena. Aren dropped his broken staff and raised his hand weakly. His knees gave out, and he fell to the ground. Guards rushed forward. Scifi pushed past them and knelt beside Aren. "You did it," she whispered. "Wasn't easy," Aren said with a weak smile. "Rest," she said. "You're safe now." He closed his eyes. Hours later, Aren woke in a quiet healing chamber. Soft light glowed above him. His wounds were wrapped, and a cool mist flowed through the room, helping his body recover. Slow nearby, watching him. "How long was I out?" he asked. "Almost half a day," she said. "You fought with everything. The people saw it." "About your father?" Aren asked. Her face grew serious. "No, he's not happy. He thinks I've embarrassed him." Aren sat up slowly. "But I won." "You did," she said, "and I made a promise. I meant it." Aren looked at her. "Why? Did you do it?" Scifi didn't speak for a moment, and she said, "Because I saw something in you. Not just courage. Something ... different. When you spoke to me in the cell, you treated me like a person, not just a princess. And I saw how you wanted peace, not war." Aren nodded. "That hasn't changed." "Then rest," she said. "There's more coming. My people respect strength, but my father, he may not accept the result. Not yet." Outside the healing chamber, the king stood with his generals. "The crowd favors him," one general said, "and the princess stands by him." "They are fools," the king replied. "He is still a human. What will you do?" The king turned slowly. "I will remind everyone who truly rules this empire." But inside the chamber, Aren and Scifi sat together in silence, unaware that the next test would not be a battle of weapons but of politics. Honor and choice. To be continued. The city of Zoroth glowed with firelight that night. While the arena had emptied hours ago, the streets still echoed with voices. Some praised the human, others called it luck. Many argued whether he had truly won by skill or trickery. But no. One denied one truth: he had survived. He had defeated the strongest warrior on Zora. Inside the royal palace, the mood was cold. The king sat alone in his chamber, his hands folded, staring at a floating screen that showed the final moments of the arena battle. His eyes narrowed as he watched the human outsmart Kraith. "Turning dust and stone into weapons, he should have lost," the king muttered. But he didn't. A soft knock came at the door. One of his generals entered and bowed. "Your Highness, the council demands to speak. Many nobles are uncertain how to handle this ... situation." "It is not a situation," the king said. "It is a mistake that must be corrected. The people cheer for the human," the general warned. "They saw courage in him." "Princess Scifi." "Yes, my daughter," the king said bitterly. Defying her own blood in front of the entire empire? He stood and walked to the window, looking out over the city. "Let the council speak tomorrow. I'll decide what to do with the human after that." Meanwhile, in a quiet garden near the royal medical wing, Aren walked slowly beside Scifi. The air was cool. Strange glowing flowers lit their path. He had been cleared to move after resting, though his ribs were still sore and his shoulder wrapped tight. "Your people don't look happy to see me," he said softly. "They don't know how to feel," Scifi replied. "They've never seen a human win in the arena. Many of them believed you would be gone by now." "And you?" he asked, glancing at her. "I believed you'd surprise them," she said, smiling a little, "but not like this." Aren chuckled, then winced from the pain. "I didn't think I'd survive either." "You did more than survive," Scifi said. "You changed the way they see you. And me." Aren stopped walking. "You meant what you said. About the promise?" "I did," she replied without hesitation. "But it's not just my choice anymore. The council will speak. My father will push back." "Then what happens next?" he asked. Scifi looked up at the twin moons above them. "The real fight begins." The next morning, the Grand Council gathered in the High Chamber of Wisdom, a wide room built from crystal and silver stone. Nobles from all over the empire sat in curved rows, their robes bright, their faces serious. The king entered first, then Salani, followed by Aren, guarded but Yanj. Enid whispers filled the chamber as he walked. He's smaller than I thought. He beat Kraith. Is that really a human? Aren stood calmly beside Salani as the king raised his hand. For silence, this human defeated our champion in fair combat, the king began. But let us not forget, he is still an outsider. A species we have warred with. He does not belong in our court, our council, or our bloodline. Salani stood quickly. He fought with honor. He won as your rules demanded. And I gave my word. I will not break it. A noble spoke up. But he is not Zoreth. How can a princess of our people bond with something so fragile? Aren stepped forward. I may not be one of you, he said calmly, but I didn't come here to conquer or control. I came offering peace. I wanted to stop a war before it started, and I still do. Another noble asked, why should we trust your words? Aren answered, because I've had every reason to hate you. You captured me, threw me in chains, forced me to fight. But still, I stood here today. Not with anger, but with hope. Salani looked around the room. He earned respect with action, not just talk. If that means nothing to us, then we've already lost who we are. The room fell silent again. The king stared at both of them, then spoke slowly. This council will vote on whether the princess may choose this human, or whether this bond is rejected. Each noble stood one by one. Some voted with pride, some with shame. Others hesitated. When the final vote was cast, the king turned to face the room. By the narrowest margin, said the council allows the bond to waive. Of gasps moved across the chamber. The king continued, but know this, human Zoreth watches you now. Step out of line once, and you will not be forgiven. Aren nodded. Understood. Outside the chamber, the palace courtyard filled with curious citizens. Some clapped, some argued. Others watched in silence as Salani and Aren stood together. Before the crowd, what now? Aren whispered to her. Sela smiled. Now you become more than a fighter. You become part of my world. But deep within the palace, the king met privately with his guards. They think this is over, he said darkly. But we are Zoreth. We do not bow to change so easily. I will not let a human take my daughter or my throne. Plans were already being made. Old secrets would be awakened. And the test that lay ahead would be more dangerous than any arena fight. But for now, under the light of twin suns, the human and the princess stood side by side, unaware that their bond would soon be tested by more than just tradition. It would be tested by betrayal, sacrifice, and the future of two worlds. To be continued. ... The royal courtyard was quiet as the morning sun rose over Zoreth. Birds with crystal wings flew across the sky. Guards stood tall, lining the palace walls. Everything seemed peaceful, but not to Aren. He stood on a balcony, watching the horizon. With sharp eyes. Something didn't feel right. Inside the palace, Princess Salani sat with her advisors. She wore a soft blue robe, her golden eyes focused. She listened as the advisors spoke about the people's reactions. Some nobles still question your decision, one said. Others believe the human is a threat to tradition and the people, Salani asked. Divided, another replied. You have their attention, but not yet their trust. Salani nodded. Then we will earn it. She walked out into the hallway and found Aren waiting. You've been standing here all morning? She said. I couldn't sleep, Aren replied. Something feels off. She tilted her head. You think danger is coming? Your father didn't take the council's vote well, he said. I know that look in his eyes. He's planning something. Salani looked away, her voice quiet. He always does what he believes is right, even when it hurts others. Just then a young guard ran toward them. Your Highness, urgent message. Salani opened the scroll and read it. Her eyes narrowed. My father has called for a royal hunt in the Shadow Plains. He wants you to join. Aren frowned. A hunt? After all this? Zoreth leaders use the hunt to test outsiders. It's a tradition, she explained, but it's also dangerous. Do you trust him? Not right now. Should I? Go. Solani took a deep breath. If you refuse, they'll call you a coward. If you go, stay alert. Later that day, Aren stood at the edge of the Shadow Plains. It was a dry land filled with dark trees, deep cracks in the earth, and large beasts that moved through the mist. Beside him were several noble warriors, including the king himself, dressed in shining armor and holding long energy spears. The king gave a cold smile. We hunt the night beast today. It has killed many. Be ready, human. Aren didn't smile. Back. Always ready. As they moved through the plains, strange sounds filled the air. The warriors split into groups. Aren kept to the edge, watching carefully. He noticed something strange. His group was moving away from the others, deeper into the forest, where the ground was uneven and thick fog rolled in. Then, without warning, the warriors with him stepped back. Aren turned. A creature as tall as a building appeared. Its skin was black like shadow, its eyes glowing red. It let out a loud cry and charged straight at Aren. "What is that?" he shouted. "The hunt begins," one warrior said, then backed away too fast, too silent. Aren realized too late it was a trap. The beast struck. Aren rolled, just barely dodging.
Ah!
He grabbed a spear from the ground and ran. Couldn't fight this thing alone, not in the open. He ran toward a narrow gap in the rocks, hoping the beast would be slowed. It followed, crushing trees in its path. Aren breathed hard, every muscle screaming. At the same time, back at the palace, Solani waited. Something wasn't right. She had heard nothing from the hunt. No updates. No messages. She stormed into the command hall. "Where is the hunting group?" The guard looked nervous. "No contact, Your Highness. They passed into the deep mist. No signal since." "Send a scout," she ordered. Now inside the forest, Aren used the rocks to trap the beast's large body. He leaped onto a high ledge and threw his spear down. It pierced the creature's side, making it cry out in pain. But it wasn't dead. Aren jumped down and rolled behind a tree, grabbing another weapon from the ground. The beast swiped, cutting the tree in half. Bark and dust flew through the air. Aren didn't stop moving. He climbed another hill and found a broken energy net from an old trap. Quickly, he set it near the edge, drawing the beast toward him. Shouted and waved. The creature charged just before it reached him. He dove aside. The beast hit the net, and energy flared. It screamed, shaking and thrashing, but the trap held. Finally, it collapsed. Aren stood. Panting, the trees behind him parted in. The king stepped out with his guards. "You survived," the king said coldly. "Barely," Aren said, picking up his broken spear. "Was that your plan? To leave me here?" "Zoreth hunts are dangerous," the king said with a shrug. "Some don't return." Aren stepped closer. "You tried to kill me," the king leaned in. "Don't belong here, human. You won one battle, but you will never be one of us." Before Aren could speak, a loud sound echoed through the forest. It was a shuttle. Princess Solani arrived with her own guards. "Enough," she shouted. "I know what you did, father." The king looked at her. "I did what our people needed." She said, "You did what your pride wanted." She walked to Aren. "You said the real fight would be different," she whispered. Aren nodded. "I was right." She turned back to the king. "I will not hide. You try to destroy this bond again, you'll face not just me, but the people. Many of them believe in him now. They believe in change." The king's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Solani and Aren boarded the shuttle. As they flew back to the city, she looked at him. "You saved yourself again." "Yeah," Aren said. "But this time, I think we saved each other." Beneath them, the shadow plains faded into the distance. But danger still lived inside the palace walls. A greater storm was just beginning. To be continued. ... The palace gates opened as the shuttle landed, and the guards stepped back in silence. Everyone in the royal city had heard what happened during the hunt. Rumors spread like wildfire that the king led the human into a deadly trap, and that the humans survived. But even more shocking was the fact that Princess Selani arrived just in time to stop whatever her father had planned next. Aren stepped out of the shuttle with slow, careful steps. His legs ached, his arm was bruised, and his clothes were torn. Still, he walked with his head high. Selani walked beside him, silent but strong. Their faces were calm but inside. Both knew the time for waiting had ended. The next morning, the High Council called for a public gathering in the Great Plaza. It was a rare event. Every citizen of Zorath knew that, when the great bell rang, something important was about to change. Aren stood before the crowd, wearing clean clothes and light armor given by Selani. He looked out at thousands of alien faces, some curious, some cold, and a few filled with respect. The king walked onto the stage, his cape flowing behind him. He raised a hand and the crowd fell silent. "People of Zorath," he said, "our traditions are built on strength, unity, and honor. For generations, we have stood proud and untouched by outsiders. But now, one of them walks among us, not as a prisoner, but as a possible partner to our princess." The crowd murmured. "I have watched him closely," the king continued. "I say this, he is clever, yes, brave perhaps, but he is still human, and humans are not us." Before the king could continue, Selani stepped forward. "Father." "With respect," she said loudly, "you tried to let him die in the Shadow Plains. That was not honor, that was fear." Gasps came from the crowd. The king's eyes narrowed. "You think I fear him?" the king asked. "No," Selani replied. "You fear what he stands for. Change." She turned to the people. "He came here not to conquer, but to bring peace. He faced your champion in fair battle. He survived your wild hunt. And every step of the way he showed more honor than many. Born of this land," Aren took a breath and stepped forward. "I never asked for this," he said, voice steady. "But I accept it. It's not for power, not for glory, but because I believe in what we can build together." The crowd grew quiet. "Let us not keep building walls," Aren added. "Let's build something better, something new." The silence stretched, then a sound broke through one person clapping, then another, soon. Many, the king's face remained still, but his hands clenched behind his back. The moment passed, and the council dismissed the gathering. That night, Selani and Aren sat on the palace balcony. The city lights below glowed like stars. "That was a risk," Aren said. "It was time," Selani replied. "We've played by old rules too long. Your father won't give up." "I know," she said. "He may try something else." Just then, a soft sound came from behind them. A guard approached, holding a sealed message. From the outer colony of Shaltar, the guard said, "Urgent." Selani opened it and read quickly. Her eyes widened. "They've declared rebellion," she whispered. "The colony refuses to accept our bond. They say it dishonors the Empire." Aren stood. "Is it serious?" "Very. The colony controls energy supplies for half the region. If they leave, others might follow." "Is your father behind this?" "Maybe," Selani said. "We can't prove it. Not yet." Aren looked out at the stars. "Then we stop this the only way we can. We go there. They won't listen to me," she said. "And they definitely won't listen to you." "Maybe," he replied. "But if we show them something they've never seen, maybe they will." Selani smiled faintly. "You have an idea?" "We go there not as rulers," he said, "but as equals. As people who want to understand, not command." The next day, Selani and Aren prepared for the journey.
Oh.
They refused military guards, bringing only a small crew of trusted pilots and advisors. It was a risk, but the only way to show they came in peace. The ship lifted off at dawn, flying through blue skies and into space. As they neared Shaltar, the colony's warning message came. "Turn back. This is no longer part of the Empire. You are not welcome." Selani sent her reply calmly. "We come to speak. Nothing more." They landed just outside the colony city. Alien soldiers stood in rows, weapons ready. The colony governor, a tall, cold-eyed leader named Veros stepped forward. "You have no right to be here," Veros said. "We're not here to fight," Solani answered. "Then why come?" Aren stepped forward to ask one question. "What are you afraid of?" Veros's eyes narrowed. "You, your influence, your weakness. Humans don't belong with us." "Why?" Aren asked. "Because we're different." "Yes," Veros replied. "And difference leads to weakness." Aren looked around. The soldiers were tense, but many looked unsure. He took off his armor and stepped forward. Unarmed. "Then let me show you something," he said. "Not power, not weapons, just the truth." He told them the story from his capture to the arena, to the hunt, and now to this place. He didn't shout, he didn't demand, spoke simply, honestly and slowly. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Governor Veros didn't speak, but the people behind him, workers, elders, young voices began to move closer. Solani stepped beside Aren. "We can leave old ways behind," she said, "but only if we walk forward together." The crowd stayed quiet, but no one ordered them away. That night, the people of Shaltar agreed to hold a vote, and for the first time in Zorath's history, a colony far from the throne decided not through fear or blood, but through choice. A light had been lit, but deep in the empire. The old king watched the stars and whispered to himself, "They think they've won, but the final game, still mine to play." To be continued. The day of the great vote had arrived. The colony of Shaltar was alive with energy. Citizens filled the streets, their voices mixed with excitement and fear. The old traditions were being tested, and no one knew what the future held. Aren stood beside Princess Solani on a raised platform. The crowd looked up at them, waiting for answers. The air was thick with tension. Even the sun seemed to pause as if it watched with bated breath. Solani raised her hand. "Today we choose not just for ourselves, but for the future of Zorath. This vote will decide if Shaltar remains part of the Empire, and if we walk together, humans and Zorath, as one." A murmur passed through the crowd. Aren looked at the people, seeing hope and doubt in their eyes. He stepped forward. "I am not here to force a choice. I am here to listen." One by one, citizens, spoke workers, elders, young fighters. Some feared change, others wanted peace. Some remembered old battles, pain still fresh, but all knew. The moment was important. As the vote began, Solani turned to Aren. "This is more than politics now, it's about trust." Aren nodded, "And trust is earned." Hours passed. The votes were counted. Crowd waited, silent finally. The result was announced. A shelter would stay loyal to Zorath, but with one condition. The human Aren would be accepted as a protector of the colony, not as a ruler, but as a symbol of unity. The crowd erupted in cheers. Solani smiled, her eyes shining, but the celebrations were cut short. Back at the palace, the old king had called his most loyal warriors. His face was hard, his voice cold. "They think a human can join our bloodline. They think my daughter will bring ruin upon Zorath." The general stepped forward. "What is your command, my king?" "We will show them the price of betrayal." The next days were tense. Mysterious fires broke out near the colony. Supplies disappeared. Whispers of rebellion stirred. Aren and Solani worked together to calm fears. They visited markets, met with leaders, and promised protection. One night, while walking through the city, Aren felt a sudden chill. A shadow moved quickly behind him. He spun, catching a masked figure with a dagger raised. Aren grabbed the attacker's wrist and disarmed him. The figure struggled, then collapsed. "That's Selend with guards. An assassination attempt." "Oh, she asked." Aren nodded. "Someone wants to stop us." Seleni's face hardened. "Then we must be ready." They increased security and trained guards in new tactics. Aren shared human strategies, teaching how to work as a team, how to watch for signs. Slowly, trust grew. The colony began to believe in the bond between human and princess. One evening, Solani and Aren stood before the palace watching stars. "This is just the beginning," Solani said. "I know," Aren replied. "But together, we can face whatever comes." Then, A message arrived from the king. He demanded a meeting. Scifi and Aren prepared carefully. The king's chambers were cold, the air thick with tension. "You've broken tradition," the king said sharply. "Your bond with the human divides the empire. Or it unites it," Scifi replied. "You risk everything." "To build something better?" Aren stepped forward. "We seek peace, strength and unity, not division." The king looked at them, his anger softening. "Prove it," he said. "Win a battle not in the arena, but in the council. Show me the future you want." Scifi and Aren accepted. In the days that followed, they worked with nobles, diplomats, and citizens. They faced criticism, insults, and threats. But they also found allies, those tired of war, ready for change. Slowly, the empire began to shift. On the anniversary of the arena battle, Aren and Scifi stood before the same crowd. "Today," Scifi said, "we honor courage, honor, and hope. We choose to walk forward, together." The crowd cheered louder than ever before. The king watched from his throne, a small smile on his face. The human had not just won a battle, he had won a future, and, with the princess by his side, Zoreth would never be the same.